A man sleeps with whoever he can, but he becomes obsessed with the woman who stimulates something right here. And no, it's not what you're thinking right now. Forget everything you believe you know about attraction. Forget the magazines. Forget your girlfriend's advice. Forget every romantic comedy Hollywood has ever made. We are not talking about some secret bedroom technique. We're not talking about having a magazine cover body or a perfectly symmetrical face. We're not even talking about being the most outgoing or the funniest woman in the room. That's beginner stuff. That catches the eye, sure, but the eye is cheap. The eye moves on as fast as it lands. Today, I want to talk about something much deeper, something invisible. I'm talking about a brain switch, a neurological mechanism buried deep inside the male limbic system, a switch so powerful and so primal that it can separate in a matter of seconds, a forgettable encounter from a full-blown mental addiction. Have you ever asked yourself these questions? Why did that man who seemed so interested suddenly go cold as ice? Why did you give him everything you had? You were attentive, loving, spectacular in every possible way, and he still chose someone else. Or, the most painful question of all, why are there women out there who don't seem to try that hard, who aren't perfect by any stretch, yet somehow they generate an almost irrational devotion in men, while you feel like you have to fight for every crumb of attention? The answer to all of that isn't in what you do, it's in what you awaken inside of him. The question isn't how to make a man desire you physically. Physical desire is a basic instinct. It's easy to trigger. The real question, the one that changes everything, is what do you have to do so he literally cannot get you out of his head? What is that invisible, silent mental drug that separates the women men, like from the women men never forget? What I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes isn't a seduction trick. I've spent over 30 years in clinical practice, and I can tell you this is a principle of masculine psychology confirmed by neuroscience and evolutionary biology. A concept that, once you understand it, gives you enormous power, because a man's body always follows his mind. And his mind, believe me, is not looking for what everyone else is offering. It's looking for something far rarer, something you probably already carry inside you and don't even know how to use. Stay with me, and I promise you will never see attraction the same way again. So here's the paradox, this mystery that torments so many women. On one side, popular culture and everyday conversations tell us that to attract a man, you need an arsenal of very specific qualities. Beauty, a toned body, charm, being great in bed, an endless checklist that pressures us into becoming some kind of perfect product. And many women try. Lord knows they try. They invest time, energy, and emotion into meeting that ideal. But then in the real world, something happens that doesn't add up. We watch relationships that had everything going for them just evaporate. We watch men lose interest in women who on paper are a 10 out of 10. And on the flip side, we see other women who maybe don't fit that strict mold of perfection, generate a loyalty and a desire that borders on obsession. Why? Because we've been trying to open the wrong lock. We've spent decades focused on the door of physical attraction, the body, the tangible, but we've completely ignored the existence of a second door, a far more important one and a far better guarded one, the door to the masculine mind. Inside his brain, there's a filter, a highly selective gatekeeper. This gatekeeper receives every experience, every interaction he has with you, and makes a nearly brutal binary decision. Either the experience is disposable, something pleasant but temporary that gets filed in short-term memory and forgotten, or the experience contains a special ingredient, a catalyst that marks it as essential. And when that happens, that experience breaks through the filter, gets burned into his long-term memory, and most importantly, activates the circuits of deep reward and desire. The problem is that most seduction strategies we know are only designed to please the gatekeeper temporarily, to have a fun night, but they have no idea how to deliver that secret ingredient that forces open the main door. That's why this matters so much, because understanding it frees you from the exhausting race of trying to be physically perfect or acting like someone you're not. So what is that mental drug? What is that secret ingredient that breaks through every defense a man has and installs itself in his command center? The answer is one single word, and it's probably not the one you're expecting. It's not passion. It's not mystery. It's not beauty. The word is admiration. I know what you might be thinking. Admiration sounds a little cold, a little unsexy. Sounds more like something you feel for a mentor or a leader than for a partner. And it's precisely in that misunderstanding where its secret power lives. To understand why admiration is the fuel of the deepest masculine desire, we need to take a quick trip inside his mind to his most fundamental programming. From an evolutionary and psychological standpoint, a man is wired to seek, compete, and conquer, not just in a territorial or physical sense, but in status, in hierarchy, in life. He has a profound innate desire to feel competent, to be good at what he does, to build and to protect. That initial physical spark, he sees you and his primal instinct says, I want her. That's a desire of possession. It's one-directional. But it's shallow and volatile. It can vanish in an instant. Admiration, however, changes the entire game. The moment a man begins to admire you for something beyond your looks, your intelligence, the passion in your voice when you talk about your work, your integrity, your wit, how you handle a crisis with calm, the dedication you pour into a hobby he knows nothing about, a chemical shift occurs. His desire stops being a simple, I want her. It transforms into a far more powerful question. He asks himself, am I good enough for her? Suddenly the power dynamic has shifted. He's no longer the hunter chasing prey. Now he sees himself standing before someone who has her own kingdom, her own value, her own light. You stop being an object of desire and you become an inspiration. And that feeling, for a man, is incredibly potent. It's the difference between wanting to sleep with you and wanting to be worthy of standing beside you. Think about it. Physical desire seeks to consume. Admiration seeks to merge. He doesn't just want to have you. He wants to understand you. He wants to learn from you. He wants some of your magic to rub off on him. And this doesn't mean you have to be a CEO or a NASA scientist. Admiration isn't about monumental achievements. It's about authenticity and passion. It's the spark in your eyes when you talk about the books that changed your life. It's the confidence with which you share your opinion at dinner, even though everyone else disagrees. It's him watching you, completely absorbed, figuring out how to fix something on your own, frustrated but determined. In those moments, he's not just seeing an attractive woman, he's seeing a complete, fascinating, independent person. And the most primal part of his brain, the part that craves challenge and values competence, goes on high alert. But here's where the real conflict is born. If admiration is such a powerful engine for masculine desire, why do society and our own fears so often push us to do the exact opposite? Why are we subtly taught to make ourselves smaller, to not shine too bright so we don't intimidate a man? This brings us to the great myth of intimidation. The myth goes like this: don't shine too much, don't be too smart, don't be too successful, don't be too independent, because if you are, you'll intimidate men and you'll end up alone. Sound familiar? It's one of the most paralyzing lies ever told to generations of women, and it puts us in an impossible trap. To be desirable, you have to give up being admirable. Here's where the story turns. Because this myth isn't entirely false, but it's terribly misinterpreted. And it's in that misinterpretation where we ruin our chances without even realizing it. The truth is this: a high-value man is not intimidated by your strength. He's repelled by competitive energy. He's not scared of your intelligence. He's exhausted when you use it as a weapon to make him feel stupid. He's not intimidated by your success. He's turned off when you use it to belittle his. Let me tell you a quick story. Think about Margaret. Margaret's a brilliant woman here in Boston. High-level executive, well-read, fiercely independent, and she complains bitterly that men can't handle a successful woman. On her dates, she talks at length about her accomplishments, her travels, her bonuses. If the guy she's with mentions something he's proud of at work, she immediately fires back with something of hers that's twice as impressive. If he has an opinion about politics, she dismantles it with data and arguments until he goes quiet. Margaret thinks she's showing her value, that she's proving she's an admirable woman. But men don't walk away from those dinners thinking, wow, what an admirable woman. They walk away thinking, that felt like a job interview I never applied for. They don't feel intimidated by her success. They feel evaluated, judged, and ultimately unnecessary. But what happened next in Margaret's life is even more telling. She met a man who did put up with that pace, a passive guy with no ambition who felt comfortable in her shadow. And over time, she lost all respect and attraction for him, because by dimming his own light to be with her, he stopped being a man she could admire. He became the living proof of her own trap. Now think about Diane. Diane is every bit as successful and smart, but her energy is different. When she talks about her achievements, she does it with a passion that inspires, not an arrogance that crushes. And more importantly, she shows a genuine curiosity about his world. She asks about his challenges, his passions. She listens to his stories with real interest. She doesn't see him as competition. She sees him as a fascinating universe she wants to explore. Her confidence doesn't need to put out anyone else's light to shine. Her strength is warm, it's magnetic, it's an invitation. Men don't run from Diane. They line up hoping to be part of her world because she doesn't make them feel small. She inspires them to be bigger. Now, I want to pause here because this is something the conversation around attraction almost always gets wrong. And in my 30+ years of practice, I've seen this cause real damage. We put almost all the responsibility on women. Shine right, filter correctly, build your kingdom. But attraction is a two-way street, and it's about time we said that out loud. If a man feels threatened by your intelligence, if he tries to dim your light with passive-aggressive comments or little jokes about your career, that is not your problem to solve. You do not owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. And frankly, a good man, a man worth your time, already knows that. He doesn't need to be taught not to feel intimidated. He's already done that work on himself. So yes, this video is about what you can cultivate in yourself, but never, not for 1 second, take that to mean that his insecurity is your project to fix. Now let's talk about what to do when you've done everything right. You're strong but warm, brilliant but kind. You've got your own world going, and still you sense it in his eyes, in his silences, in his little digs, that your light makes him uncomfortable. Should you shrink to fit his world? Should you dial back your glow so his insecurity doesn't feel so exposed? The answer is a hard, definitive, non-negotiable no. Never. And this isn't cheap empowerment talk. This is the single most important strategic insight you'll ever hear about choosing a partner. Because right in that moment, the exact moment you feel the temptation to make yourself smaller for him, you're not in a crisis. You're standing in front of the most effective filter that exists to separate a man of real value from a scared boy in an adult's body. A man stuck in his insecurities, when exposed to the light of a powerful woman, reacts like a vampire at dawn. Your light doesn't inspire him, it burns him. It illuminates every shortcoming, every lack of ambition, every fear. And he only has two choices: step up, grow, and work to meet you where you are, or try to drag you into the dark with him. He'll do it with subtle criticism, with jokes about your job, by making you feel guilty for your independence, calling you intimidating or too intense. If a man does that, he's not giving you feedback. He's handing you his resignation letter. Thank him for the information and walk away. But a man of real value? Oh, this is where the magic happens. A man who's done the inner work, who has genuine confidence, not arrogance, who has his own mission in life, doesn't react to your light with fear. He reacts with fascination. Your success doesn't threaten him. It motivates him. Your intelligence doesn't make him feel small. It excites him. Your independence doesn't push him away. It pulls him in like a magnet. For him, you're not a threat. You're the summit the climber dreams of reaching. And here's the deepest truth about masculine desire, the one hiding underneath everything else. The most powerful, most visceral, most addictive thrill for a man of real substance is not seeing a woman undressed. That's animal instinct. It's easy. The real thrill, the one that gets burned into his soul and hooks him for good, is seeing her fully clothed, completely in her element, on fire with her own passion, absolutely absorbed in her own world, and thinking to himself with a mix of awe and reverence, "My God, I want to be worthy of this woman." That thought, "I want to be worthy of her," not "I want to possess her." That is when his desire for you fuses with his own aspiration to become a better man. He's no longer addicted to you. He's addicted to the best version of himself that you inspire him to be. And that is the most potent mental drug in the universe. So how does this look in real life? How do you apply this tomorrow on your next date in your current relationship without it coming across as arrogance? The first step is a complete change of direction. Stop looking outward, asking, what will he like? What can I do to impress him? And start looking inward with brutal honesty. What lights me up? Forget about men for a moment, forget about dating, and ask yourself in silence, what topic makes you talk so fast you almost run out of breath? What activity absorbs you so completely you forget to check your phone for hours? What injustice in the world lights a fire in your gut? What's your weird side, that strange obsession, whether it's Civil War history, specialty coffee varieties, or obscure documentary films that you normally don't share because you think no one cares? Right there, in those answers, is the gold. Those are the ingredients of the mental drug we've been talking about. Your job isn't to invent anything. It's to rediscover, unearth, and feel proud of what's already there. The second step is understanding that this isn't about informing, it's about transmitting. You don't show up to a date and recite a resume of your passions like it's a job interview. Hi, I like hiking, Stoic philosophy, and indie film. That's a report, and it's boring. It's about letting that passion show up naturally. If you're talking about movies, don't be afraid to say, that film blew my mind because of the cinematography. Did you notice how the director used light to... Soy, it's you suggesting the next outing. There's an antique book fair downtown this Saturday. Want to go? I love the smell of old books. It's letting your genuine enthusiasm fill the space. You don't have to wonder whether he cares about antique books. What he'll find magnetic is your passion for them. So practically speaking, here's what changes. Stop swallowing your real opinions to avoid conflict. Stop pretending you love football when it bores you to tears. Stop playing helpless so he can rescue you. Stop being his personal cheerleader 24/7 while your own projects gather dust. Instead, protect your time for your own projects and hobbies fiercely. Keep your own social life and stop canceling it for him every time. Don't be afraid of a healthy debate where you can say, I see it differently. Here's why. Show your process, even your failures. I'm trying to learn watercolor painting and it's so hard, nothing worked today, but I'm going at it again tomorrow. Be the lead in your own movie where he can be a wonderful co-star but never the director. I know this is scary because this path guarantees one thing. Some men will leave. Men you might have been attracted to physically will feel uncomfortable or simply won't connect. And I need you to understand that is not a failure. That is your filter working exactly as it should. Every man who walks away because your light is too bright for him is doing you the biggest favor of your life. He's saving you months or years of heartache with the wrong person. And more importantly, he's clearing the road for the one who can handle it. The one who's not just able to, but who's actively searching for exactly that kind of fire. Now imagine your life is a bonfire. For a long time we were told we had to wander through the world carrying a tiny little flame, desperately looking for someone who'd give us their firewood so our fire wouldn't die out. That was an exhausting, dependent search. The approach we've been talking about today is the radical opposite. It's about sitting down and pouring all your energy, all your focus, into building your own bonfire. Finding your own firewood, your passions, your knowledge, your skills, your friendships, and stacking it higher and higher until your fire is so big, so tall, and so hot that its light can be seen for miles. People aren't drawn to a tiny, trembling flame that needs their help to survive. People are irresistibly drawn to the warmth and light of a roaring bonfire. And here's the beauty of living this way. There are only two possible outcomes. Outcome one, an incredible man sees your fire from a distance, feels drawn to it, walks toward it, not to control it, but to bring his own firewood, to sit beside you and share the warmth, and together you build something even bigger. That's a relationship built on mutual admiration and respect. That's the dream. Outcome two, you build your bonfire. A month goes by, 6 months, a year, and you're still on your own. Have you failed? Not even close. You'll be a woman who knows more, who's lived more, who's stronger, happier, and more interesting than she was a year ago. You'll be so deeply in love with your own life, with your own fire, that when someone does show up, he'll be a wonderful addition, but never, ever again a desperate need. Because the deepest seduction, the kind that creates legends, isn't about transforming yourself into the woman he wants. It's about being so complete, so fiercely, so radiantly alive in your own skin that he considers it an absolute privilege just to walk beside you and warm himself by your fire. So the next time you're getting ready to go out and you look in the mirror, I want you to drop the question, how can I be more attractive? Replace it with a far more powerful one. How can I be a little more me today? Don't try to be the prettiest woman in the room. That's an exhausting contest that never ends and always leaves you feeling empty. Try to be the most interesting one. Beauty, believe me, only captures the eye, but admiration captures the mind.